Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of Outliers. I'm Molly Hawkins, an outlier and firm believer in blazing your own trail, following your heart, and our guests today certainly have done that. Today we are sitting here with two individuals who are defying nature and gravity with their acrobatics. Thomas Evans and Justin Sullivan are Duo XY, a static trapeze act. What you might be asking yourself, they essentially bend, twist, flip on bars, ropes, and mainly stay in place compared to other trapeze acts that swing or move. These two met while working on Cirque du Soleil's La Nuba, started playing around with Duo Static Trapeze, moved to Montreal to study further, and eventually formed Duo XY. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yay. Well, so you guys both started with different forms of gymnastics at a very early age. Justin, you're from Texas. You tumbled and trampoline as a youth. You were in the USA Gymnastics Trampoline and Tumbling National Team. Thomas from Seattle. You were a gymnast from age 6, transitioned into diving.
Yeah.
And so what was it that drew you into the gym for the first time as kids?
Oh, I don't even remember. Well, I started, I don't even remember. I was 6 years old, My mom put me in gymnastics, and I did a lot of sports with my cousin who is just about the same age as me, and we always did things together, and he was never the athletic one, and I was always the athletic one that did everything really well. So, I don't know. I did a lot when I was young, and gymnastics was just one that I really, really enjoyed, and then that eventually turned into diving, which then overcame gymnastics, and kind of how it started, but I was so young to even remember,
Right. Did your parents put you into maybe a handful of different sports and this was the one that stuck?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I did baseball, soccer, gymnastics, ice skating, tennis, everything, So gymnastics and acrobatics, I suppose, I really enjoyed.
And what about you, Justin?
I was the worst soccer player ever. I played soccer from age, I think, 5 to 9, and I was the kid that was playing in the grass and chasing butterflies and not paying attention. And it got to the point, I think, where my parents would even just come, drop me off for a game, and then pick me up at the end because there was no reason to stick around because I was the literal worst. And they finally were just like, this isn't working for you. This isn't your sport. Let's try something else. And I had seen a commercial for a trampoline and tumbling gym on TV, and I asked if I could try that. And the first day of class, I was so nervous driving there that I threw up in the back seat of the car. So we didn't even make it to my first class. But when I got there, I just had this natural knack for it and have been doing acrobatics ever since.
So can you guys maybe talk a little bit about, the point at which you realized that this might be something that could go from just being a tumbling class or, a phase in your life? Was there an insane amount of training that got you to the point where you're like, man, this is it?
Well, I think for me, for trampoline and tumbling, there's not really a career in trampoline and tumbling at all. It's a lesser known sport in the United States. It's big in Europe, but not so big in the United States. And so when I was on the national team, my goal was always to go to the Olympics, and that's what I was training for. I'd been to world championships before, and that was what my training was going to be, was to end with a career, a competitive highlight, and then retire and then have a normal life. It wasn't until I was, I think, 16 at a competition in Las Vegas that I saw a Cirque du Soleil show. And I knew that the policy of Cirque was to take sports people and turn them into artists and acrobats in shows. And it was at that moment that I realized, whoa, I could take what I've learned my entire life, all of my training, and actually make a career out of it. Just, how a kid playing baseball has ambitions of being in the major leagues and they can get paid for that. There wasn't something like that existed in trampoline and tumbling or gymnastics until I saw Cirque and realized, oh, you can make a career out of this. And so that's how I realized that that's what I wanted to do.
Well, and Thomas, you were diving, it sounds like, at one point, and the transition to gymnastics,
I was diving a lot of my teenage career, and I kind of just expected myself. I knew that eventually I was going to go to university and dive at university, and that's how I would go to school. And I don't know. Doing physical things was always something that I enjoyed way more than school, way more than any other subject. And so when I was 15 or 16, I found Cirque du Soleil, and all the classic videos and all that. And then I looked online for something here in Seattle, and that's when Sanka had just opened when
And
I was 16.
For folks who don't know what Sanka is, can you tell them?
Senka is a school here in Seattle, and they're on their 10th year. It's a circus school, and they've expanded. They're in Georgetown right now, and yeah, it's a great school.
Okay. So you got into circus school.
That's how I was kind of immersed in it. When I was 18, I then through Sanka, I kind of became an acrobat in a skipping rope number that did special events for Cirque du Soleil. And then also when I was 17 years old, I went to a training camp for the summer for underage kids at the National School in Montreal. And that's when I really met people from all over the world, my age and older, who had careers and wanted to make a life doing this. And it really broadened my idea of what the rest of my life could be, or what a career in this could be. And for me, that was really the turning point of like, okay, I can make an actual career out of performing and actually being physical and doing what I love, rather than going to university and knowing that my career as a diver would end after 4 years at a university. So for me, that was really the turning point. And then coming back, it was really like, okay, no, this is it. This is, I was going into my senior year of high school, and it was really like, what am I doing? Where am I going? So that was the turning point for me to really fast track it towards wanting to become a professional.
Well, so as with a lot of folks who pursue action sports careers or professional sport careers or these alternative sport careers, I can imagine that there's a point where you're second guessing yourself. You're telling your friends, your family, and they're like, "What? You're gonna do what?" Did you guys experience any of that?
My grandma called the FBI because I was literally I was 18, and so I'd been on the national team for a while, and I had actually moved from Lubbock, Texas to Pocatello, Idaho, which is where the national team coordinator for USA Gymnastics Trampoline and Tumbling lived. And there was kind of like this almost like migration of a lot of the top senior athletes moving to Pocatello, Idaho to train with her. And so I had been there for almost a year. I was going to Idaho State University on academic scholarship and training during the day in hopes to go to World Championships and Olympics further down the road. And we went to a competition in Las Vegas. We saw Cirque du Soleil scouts there, and they recruited my teammate, but I actually didn't compete because I had dislocated my knee like 3 weeks before. So when we got back, my roommate, who was also at the training center, was like, "Oh, you can submit your resume to Cirque du Soleil online. Let's do it just for fun." So we both did. And then I got home from school the next day, and there was a call on the answering machine. At that time, you had the real answering machine, home line. And so there was a scout saying, "We're interested in you for Cirque. Please send your material in." So I sent everything in. And then the next day, they were like, "Move to Montreal. You're going to do this formation training period, and then hopefully you'll end up on a show." So I withdrew from school, called my parents, told them that I was leaving school to join the circus, essentially. It was Cirque du Soleil, but the circus. And everyone just lost it. They told my grandma. She literally called the FBI and the Better Business Bureau. They thought I was joining some kind of cult. They were really scared for me.
Oh my God, amazing.
I had all kinds of backlash. It was crazy.
Wow. Did you experience a similar?
Not a ton, really. No, my parents were always really cool with it. My mom, I think, more than my dad at the very beginning. But no, I mean, I'm from Seattle. It's pretty open here. People know what's happening, and people know, there are other options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lubbock, Texas, not so much.
I guess the only time when I was 18 and still in high school, I had contacted Cirque about diving in their show, and they had asked me to send in a video and maybe to come audition in Vegas. And I just remember it was a senior in high school, and I just remember my dad being like, "No, you're finishing high school first," and blah blah blah. And I'm sitting there like, what if they ask me to come before I graduate? And that was the only moment where my dad ever kind of doubted me. And looking back, he had right to do so. But
so in general, though, you guys got support from your families and
yeah.
I mean, me more than him for sure.
I mean, and actually, when at the time, because I was 18, I was living on my own, but I was training like 6 hours a day, so I couldn't really support myself. My parents were supporting me, and when I told them that I was going to do what I was going to do, run away and join Cirque, they were like, okay, that's it, like zero financial help. You get nothing
Right.
if you're going to make this choice. So like that was the last time I got any kind of support financially from them when I was 18. And then, after they knew what it was and after I kind of, I guess, made it, I got on a show and I ended up working for Cirque for 11 years. Then, of course, the support was there. I think it was the fear of the unknown. They had no idea what I was
Right.
doing. And
Naturally, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids and parents experience a similar,
Absolutely. Yeah.
outside of even,
yeah, I just think it was
more traditional,
overwhelming for them.
yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
So you guys are getting into Cirque. You end up at Cirque du Soleil. You meet. Share that story about how you guys come together and what led to Duo XY.
Well, when I was 20, I went to circus school for 2 years in Quebec City, and then right after that, I joined Cirque in Macau in China, and they had a show out there, and I was there for 2 years. Then came back to Seattle, moved to San Francisco for a few months, and then was called to temporary contract on Lanuba in Orlando for 3 months as a rope skipper. One of the people there broke his ankle or injured himself, and I was there to replace for a few months. And then that's where I met. And and Justin had been working for Cirque for 11 years at that point and was kind of ready to leave Lanuba at the time. So it was almost this weird coincidence that our contracts were ending at the same time. But then we had met there. That's where we met and started dating. And we knew our contracts were both finishing around the same time. And we were like, well, what are we going to do? We've just started this relationship.
Yeah, how are we going to stay together?
How are we going to stay together?
So had you guys been performing together prior to?
No, we did
interesting.
completely separate
I mean, the
acts.
same show, but he did trampoline and tumbling, and I was doing rope skipping.
Crazy.
And so we met and had started dating, and it was going well. And we were like, well, my contract's going to finish in 2 months, and I would potentially move back to San Francisco. He was potentially going to finish and move back to Texas and work at a bank. So it was like he was kind of done with Cirque at the time. And so we were really kind of looking for a new, what do we do? Mm-hmm. Do we end up dating and date long distance, which we both knew would not work. And, or we were like, maybe we can move to Vegas and try to get shows, work there. But one day I remember it was just before Christmas, and I was like, we were going to Barnes & Noble, and I got out of the car and I was like, why don't we try an act together? Like, why don't we try working together? Maybe this could work. And I proposed duo trapeze, and we started working, 20 minutes here between shows, after shows. And then, that's kind of how it unraveled. It was just kind of had a little knack for it at first, but not like strong technique. And then that's why we were then like, okay, well, we need to move to Montreal. Mm-hmm. That's where we're going to get the best coaches. That's where we're going to get the best, of everything.
And then it was like, at that point, then it was like a flashback to 11 years prior when I called my parents and told them I'm leaving Cirque for real this time. And now
they're a little bit...
I'm going with my boyfriend to develop a new act, an act neither which of us has ever done. We have no experience in trapeze.
And we had been dating for 2.5 months, 3 months maybe.
So I think,
Fresh.
again,
So
it was
like
just flashback.
Moving together, start a business almost together, like...
But those are the times which that exciting stuff's about to unfold.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
You're
For sure.
You guys had to have been on a high at that point.
Well, and we
for
knew
sure.
there was potential in it. Like we saw where we were after 2 months of training, and we knew that it was something that could potentially be really big.
Yeah.
So we had to go for it.
Again, you guys, we're listening to Justin Sullivan and Thomas Evans, static trapeze performers, and we're talking about the extraordinary pathway that they have chosen and the extraordinary physical feats that these two accomplish through their performances. You guys, I want to back up a little bit. You talked about your time at Cirque du Soleil. Now, this is, for me, like magical because, I mean, I've watched it on TV quite a bit. I've gone to one show when it came through Seattle. And it is just mind-blowing. It's beautiful, artful, but the physical accomplishments the things that you see, happening out there on the stage, or I want to hear a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, is it just day in and day out training? Is it an intense like boot camp? That the 11 years? 11 years that you were there, was it just like crazy dieting and like intense physical training?
I think a lot of the most intense training with circ happens before. A lot of people come from sport or a circus background, and then once you get to circ, it's about maintenance. Because on a resident show, you're doing 478 shows a year. It's 10 shows a week with 2 days off between. You have 3 big breaks a year, but it's 478 shows a year. So just doing 10 shows a week is quite physical. On top of that, you have training. And when you're hired with circ, you're expected to maintain the exact physical form you were hired at. And so I think it differs for each person. But in terms of like the physicality of it, I mean, the show is intense and the show is hard. You have all of these skills that you learned previously that you've now brought to circ, and then it's just completely about maintaining it. Pilates, weightlifting.
It all depends on,
and it depends on what you do.
It depends on everything. It depends on what you do, how old you are, how intense your show is. Like, there are each person is different. Each artist is different and treats their bodies in different ways. And it's just about learning how to maintain and get through every show and do everything well,
And it's like a slippery slope, especially in the United States. They have to be so careful about what they say to you. Like, they can't say, well, you're looking pretty chubby, you have to lose weight. They have to say, well, we see that this skill's a little more difficult for you. Maybe you should talk to the physical therapy department about
I'm sure they have
an exercise
a great
regime.
legal team.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Did you see anybody lose contracts over it?
Yeah,
does
definitely.
It
For sure.
Crazy. Ooh.
People that can't perform, because I mean, you're expected to perform a certain role and look a certain way, and if you can't maintain that, then you can lose your job.
How about the lifestyle outside of the big top? Those 2 days that you guys got off. Do a lot of people hang out together?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I think that my first show was in Macau in China, and it's a small little town, like at the very southern tip of China, really near Hong Kong, but there wasn't a lot of Westerners around. So it was a resident show. We had our own apartments. We had our own kind of lives outside, but it wasn't like I had best friends in the local community that spoke the same language as me, So in terms of that, we were very tight-knit as a cast. And I think that on a touring show, you're much more tight-knit as a cast because you travel around together. It's not like, you meet new people in different cities all the time and you're spending all your time with them. You're very close as a cast. I think in Orlando, when we were on that show, everyone had a chance to really have their own life. It's a permanent show. So you have your own life. You have, some people I never even talked to at work, or not that I never talked to them.
Like,
but just
I toured and I did
hello.
a resident show, and on tour, like Thomas said, you literally you're all you have, and it is a giant, dysfunctional, amazing family. It's probably some of the best memories of my life being on tour, because literally you work with these people, you eat with them, you take the bus back to the hotel, you wake up and go downstairs, there they are. On the day off, everyone goes to do the tourist things thinking, oh, I'll get away from the circus, and everyone from the circus is at whatever major tourist spot. So you're always with them. It's a really loving environment. You all have similar pasts, and so you really connect, and they are the closest friends I've ever had. On a resident show in Orlando or in like Vegas, because people have the chance to come and kind of live the American dream and establish a life, they buy a house, and their kids, their Russian parents, their kids start to go to an English-speaking school, and now their kids are in soccer, and they have all these normal duties that they do before.
Or a lot of
they
people
go
have
into
second
work.
careers, like they'll become real estate agents. Lots of real estate agents. Just because during the day they can become massage therapists, real estate agents, tons of people going to school.
Like I finished my degree going back in a permanent show where I could go to school in the morning and then go to work at night and training and work.
It's like a weird day job.
And so you're best friends at work, but because everyone has a normal life outside and you spend so much time together at work, there's this sense kind of, because you have the option to get out, you separate. And so you have a couple friends but everyone does their own thing on the weekend.
So let's talk now about the typical week in the life of Duo XY. You guys are dating, you're performing together. I mean, you guys are glued to each other.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right now,
it's amazing for sure. Like it's truly amazing.
It's really amazing.
We talk to a lot of other couples and like, oh my God, I could never do that. How do you guys do it? But I mean, it definitely has its ups and downs.
A lot of communication.
Tons of communication. Like on a normal week, if we're not away working, then we wake up and we go to train, and we'll be training for about 2 hours. Then we'll go to coach. Then we go to the gym and work out. That's weightlifting training, and that's done together as well. We have one car, so we're literally together the whole time. Then we come home, cook dinner together, and then usually just veg out and watch TV and do some emailing, and then
and
go
that's
to
like
bed.
a normal week now, and that'll be like Monday to Friday, and then it depends on if when we're doing a show, like we worked last summer for Cirque du Soleil, it's sort of the kind of same schedule, but then it's flipped around. We'll go to the gym in the morning, and then
training,
we have work at night.
then a show, and then
2
when we
days
get
off.
shows, like we'll be leaving for a contract in Japan next month, April, and so that's kind of like our vacation.
Those are our
almost. Like,
vacations, really.
it's nice because we go away and we'll train a little bit in the day, but then we have the show
it's
at
really
night,
just
and
do
we'll
your
go
show.
and see interesting things, and that's like probably the best time for us as a couple, just to kind of like
Relax.
have a normal couple's life.
Yeah.
Wow.
outside the show, because day in and day out, when we're maintaining between shows, it's training, working out, coaching, training, working out, coaching.
And here in Seattle, we've been really lucky to coach a lot too, which is super, super fun. There's a lot of really creative, fun people to work with and good people to coach and motivated people.
Is that through Sanka or a lot?
Sanka, VA, and Emerald City.
Oh,
So
cool.
there's three
large
schools
circus
here.
schools here.
What's with Seattle? Why are there so many schools here?
I don't know. I think
It's so I
Sanka
have
started
no
it
idea,
10 years ago, and I think it's just
Mm-hmm.
there's a market here for it in terms
A
of
lot of indoor
Yeah.
activities.
Mm-hmm.
and
I think
people know
Seattleites have a really good
And-
extracurricular mindset where
a
they
lot
want
of
to do all
amazing
these things.
like
and-
where we'll be at Sanka or Versal Arts or Emerald City, and you'll watch someone that works for Amazon come in, and they're doing
amazing,
circus as like as like their gym time for the night. Instead of going in and being on a treadmill, they're hanging upside down from a trapeze. So I think there's a really interesting thing here, whereas like, for me in Lubbock, Texas, I can't imagine someone going to the circus school to to get their exercise in for the day. But here it's so nice that people embrace that, and then it starts this culture, and people come here to train. And there's a lot of really good talent here in Seattle.
So what is it like to tell a stranger that you're a circus performer? Do you get strange looks still, or how do you do that?
It's more of
I think so.
It's fun. It's nice sometimes, but then there will be days where I am just exhausted. I just want to get a haircut or whatever. I don't, any situation where you're like having a one-on-one conversation with a stranger, and there are days where I just want to fly under the radar. I don't,
So you're going for a bank loan, and they're like, what do you do for a career?
Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what do you do? I'm like, no, I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
it's
this
fun.
right now.
A lot of people are really excited
Yeah.
about it, and that's exciting and that's fun because we're obviously passionate about what we do. But
Totally.
then sometimes it's like, whoa, that's a lot. Or then I don't want to ever when I was going to school, I hated being in like groups where then you're doing a group project and everyone has to say what they do. And I don't feel like my job is any more important or more exciting than anyone else's. It's just, for me, this is my reality. And then you say what you do and people freak out. And then I don't want to be the center of attention. Like, I just want to tell you what I do and get on with my day. And then it's interesting, like applying for health insurance after we left Cirque, now that we're freelance and we do our own thing. Like, oh my goodness, like trying to get health insurance. And they're like, wait a second, you do what? And you're how high? And you're flipping around. And
Oh, that's amazing. So do people think you're joking sometimes?
Sometimes,
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. It's kind of like a movie. It sounds like something out of a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh no, you're serious. You really are a circus performer." Yeah. And then it's
that's
interesting.
totally
Some
happened,
people know what trapeze is. Some people don't. The airport is
Oh,
always
gosh.
interesting when we're traveling.
People don't
we
know
have
what
our
a trapeze
trapeze in the
is.
case. What's a trapeze?
What's a trapeze?
Like,
Well,
no, this is
what?
not something that goes in the bedroom.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
So I feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to meet you guys and to be exposed to Sanka and, these really cool programs that exist. A lot of people don't know about them. And, for a kid that might be listening or an adult that might be listening who might be interested in doing this recreationally or as a career, like what kind of advice do you have for them,
One thing I would have to say, which has been recently coming up in our discussions as coaches, I would recommend more of a competitive route in terms of gymnastics or rhythmic gymnastics or diving, building those really, really strong basic skills in a really progressive way is really beneficial to anyone wanting to eventually get into it. Professionally. The circus schools are fantastic, but there are certain elements in terms of technique that I think need to be learned just as a base from gymnastics, from diving, from rhythmic gymnastics, that sometimes aren't as touched upon at circus schools. In some ways they are, but I think like we came from sport. So we developed a really strong acrobatic base from the very beginning. It's easy for someone to put, if you do rhythmic gymnastics up until you're 20 years old, it's really easy to then stick you on a hoop, like an aerial hoop or a tissue. You just have to learn that technique. Mm-hmm. If you do it almost the other way around, it's a little bit harder.
Interesting, yeah.
So both are great. It's really good to have a base of, if you want to learn tissue, go learn tissue.
Well,
obviously,
like
that's the only place you're going to learn tissue.
There are 3 amazing schools here that provide excellent circus training, and Sanka, Emerald City, Trapeze Arts, and Versatile Arts are all great places for people. If they want to try on a recreational level, they can come in and hang on a trapeze upside down and try a tissue and get exercise in a different way than going to the gym and staying on a treadmill for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see it. I mean, a little bit more accessible now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, growing up, all I knew was Barnum and Bailey Circus, right? And then as I got older, you started, and I don't know when Cirque du Soleil came out, but then you started seeing that, and it was a little cooler.
Yeah.
And then you'd start to see that, the, what do you call them, resident or the permanent?
Yeah, the resident shows.
Shows like in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's more prevalent now, and there's schools like Sanka. But my question, I guess, for folks out there would be, are there more outlets for careers? There's only so many Cirque du Soleil performances and so many resident shows. Is it something that you see growing and opportunities for someone to make a living?
Sure, and it's interesting. There's a big movement happening now within the circus community in the United States called Circus Now. And the idea of this organization is to raise awareness of circus in the United States, because in Europe, circus is a huge entity, a huge business, and it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's very accepted by the public, and if someone says they're a circus performer, people are proud of that, and they view it and see it as a legitimate profession. And here in the United States, a lot of times you get this really excited reaction, or what? You really make a living doing that?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's important for awareness to grow that you can make a living being a circus artist. In Europe, you can even get a degree, just as you'd get a degree in dance in the university.
In Canada.
You can
like a
actually,
bachelor's of arts, basically.
You can go to college and get a degree in circus arts, and it's recognized, like I said, just as any kind of fine arts degree.
So you want me to go to college, Mom? I'm going to go get a circus degree. Are you okay with that? You still pay? Yeah.
And then within that, just as, there are operas and symphonies and dance companies, and within those companies you have dancers that then become stage managers or directors. There are so many jobs that go along with circus as well.
That's true. I mean, on the backstage, there's all the other people that go into producing the events.
And they're so important. The show cannot run without them. Each is equally important.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see acrobats and circus performers that make that transition. Or even like we have a good friend who came from a musical theater background in England, and she worked on the West End, which is like the Broadway equivalent in London. And she got her first taste of circus in a show that had a little bit of circus in it. And then from that, she was like, I only want to work for circus companies. And she's been with Cirque du Soleil now as a stage manager, the general stage manager, for 10 years. And so with Cirque and with other companies growing, there is now this avenue for stage managers and technicians that only want to do circus-style shows. And that exists because it's growing and getting bigger, and people are more open to it.
But it's also, I personally think the public is ready for it. I think people need to now take chances. I mean, it's growing and growing, I mean, I can't tell you how many winter circus shows there are in Europe. Like, work in Europe for the wintertime is fantastic.
Cabarets or things like Teatro Zanzani here in Seattle that's been here 15 years. It's this jewel of a place where you can go and have dinner and see these amazing acts. And
that's become
like
a staple of Seattle.
Yeah. And things like that exist all over Europe, and there's no reason why that couldn't exist here in America. People love it,
totally.
And it's an amazing escape, and I think it just needs
more awareness. More exposure. We grew up, we did a winter circus in the Netherlands in this little town that was like 50,000 people, but this circus had been around. It was like the 31st or something, 31st year this has been going on, and little kids, grow up watching this winter circus every year. It's a different cast every year.
And then
and
just
it's,
within their culture,
then-
they understand that they can go to circus school because there's a circus school there. It's viewed just as if you went to play basketball or whatever. Then they can even go into university and get university education and pursue circus and graduate with a degree in circus.
Yeah.
And that's just as anyone else, wanting to go become a doctor or major in dance or...
It's exciting, you know, after being within the walls of Sanka, it's clear that we're on the precipice of really big things for circus arts, not just in Seattle. There are so many kids that are learning this at an early age, and it's becoming a part of their life, and it's accepted, and it's fun. Some of the kids that I've talked to are sassy, and they love going into school and telling all their friends that, I go to circus.
And they're amazing, and it's amazing that they have that outlet.
And have that confidence.
Totally.
Man, that's amazing.
Totally.
I would have been, if I were their age going into school, I'd be like, I do circus. Yeah. So what's next for you guys? I mean, you said Japan here in the next month. What's the 90-day and the 10-year look like?
So, we've been waiting on this one particular contract, which is kind of complicated, but it would take us possibly to Hawaii for 10 months. And so we're waiting on confirmation for that. So if that goes through...
I will definitely be visiting you.
In Honolulu, it would be really rough.
You and everyone else.
We're really hoping that goes through, but it's not confirmed because we're waiting on confirmation for that. It's a 10-month contract. We've lined up some other things.
It blocks our whole year. I mean, you know what I mean? If we get it... If we get it this time around, there are other shows that we've been proposed for the rest of the year we're still on hold with because we don't know if we're going to Hawaii this year. If we don't go to Hawaii this year, we'll go next year. But it's all kind of in the balance. It's this holding process right now.
If we don't go to that, we'll definitely go to Japan either way. But then there's a show in Toronto. There's a show in the Netherlands.
Winter circuses.
As we line up our year. So right now we're in this.
And we have
the calm before the storm.
Exactly.
I hope so.
Wow.
We've been on hold for 3 months now. I feel like
I know. I thought you guys were going to be gone when I saw you guys.
Well, and we were
originally.
supposed to have possibly been gone, but we've been waiting.
Because we saw you in November, December.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing then.
We did leave for a week to go to the Netherlands.
Well, it sounds like you're going to have a busy 10-month,
Yeah,
I hope so.
I'm hoping so. Yeah.
I mean, crossing our fingers for Hawaii.
The 10-year mark, I guess, is I think as long as we take care of our bodies and we're conscious
I don't know
about
10 years. If we could
Our
still do
coach-
pretty well.
Our coach says that after 5 years, I'll be dead. That's what she said.
Oh, God.
She's like, well, Justin will be dead and Thomas can start another career. But I think that we can for sure maintain it for another 5 years for sure. And then after that, it'll be fun. We love coaching. It's a big passion of ours. So to open a school of our own.
We've talked about that maybe someday.
Oh,
It's
maybe
not-
little
it's-
mini-me's
yeah.
Yes.
school one
It's
day.
not anywhere near on the
Yeah.
radar. It's
Okay.
just like a
Okay. Cool.
20-year
It's good.
things down the line.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
That's exciting, but think of all the people who are going through what you're going through, and one day they might be on that same pathway, and that we're talking hundreds of schools potentially opening.
exactly.
So it's exciting.
It's super
Yeah.
exciting.
I can't wait to one day I'll be gray and old, and I'll have a little kid on my knee, and probably at that point, hopefully maybe at that point, circus will be everywhere, and I could reflect on the time when circus was one of those things.
Remember it when it was up and coming?
Yeah. Crazy. Well, it takes a lot of courage to pursue your passion and to find your way and make a living at it. And you guys clearly have a long career ahead of you. So I thank you for sharing your story and inspiring others.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Hopefully you can come back in after you get back from your journeys.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Again, for more on Thomas and Justin and Duo XY, visit outliersproject.com. Tune in for more Outliers, and I am out. Thank you, guys.